5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Scott, isn't it correct that many of these people are not asylum seekers, that they're actually not legitimate asylees?
That is very accurate. Most of them, when you ask them questions, they're economic refugees. If anything, they're seeking work.
Isn't it
They're not
correct?
political.
Isn't it correct when Remain in Mexico was in place under the previous administration, there was over 90% that rejected they were not legitimate asylees?
That is correct, and that also acted as a deterrent, so people stopped coming to the border because they knew they couldn't get away with fraud.
Yeah, just for the record, Mr. Chairman, I was down at the Darien Gap 2 years ago at this time in May, and that's exactly what we heard. People were coming. They were like, we had resettled to Chile, and we were perfectly happy there. We resettled to Brazil, Haitians, others, Venezuelans. They said, we were perfectly happy there, but since you're going to open the border, we're going to come to the United States of America. That's not a legitimate asylum claim, is it?
That is not.
With Secretary Mayorkas, has he done his job to protect the American people?
I do not believe that he has. He's focused on the processing and completely ignored border security, which, by the way, actually decimates our immigration system. Good border security supports our good immigration system.
Mrs. Nobles, if border policies continue as they are over the last 2 years, will there be more Kaylas?
Yes, I believe so. And that is why I'm trying to get her story out so people are aware of the issue.
Might Kayla be alive if the Biden administration had secured the border over the last 2 years?
Yes, I believe she would still be here if he was properly vetted.
Would you prefer from us, if you had a choice, to get condolences from members, which I'm sure are very heartfelt? Would you prefer condolences, or would you prefer changes in the law like the Secure the Border Act?
I would like, I would like to have changes in the law, and I want to put a law in Kayla's name to help, to have her memory live on, and so those will know that she was the one that could, that changed the law.
Unfortunately, Mr. Chairman, we have a name for these people, angel families, and that is a horrible thing here in America that we have such a thing, that we have to name all those people that have been killed by people who came in here illegally into our country. I want to go back to you, Mr. Scott. Have you had a chance to see the grand jury presentment in Florida? Have you reviewed that?
I have not reviewed it in its entirety, no.
Would it surprise you, out of that presentment, a 24-year-old male was processed by the Office of Refugee Resettlement and went on to violently kill his sponsor by stabbing him 50 times? Would it be surprised that that person came in as a minor but actually was a 24-year-old male? Is that surprising to you?
It is not surprising. I'm familiar with that case. There's no database that we can check people's ages off of, so you have to go with their word.
Would you be surprised out of that presentment that many don't carry any form of identification or authentic IDs?
I'm not surprised. Usually they get rid of it before they cross the border.
Are you surprised that UAC's unaccompanied alien children are not rapid DNA tested or biometric tested?
To be honest, they're not even fingerprinted and photographed in many occasions if they're under 14, so no.
Would you be surprised to know out of that presentment that most case managers at OR do not have any special training, and many have been hired over the phone, sight unseen, with a very cursory approach?
That's very troubling, but unfortunately, I'm not surprised.
Would you be surprised that agents in the El Paso region discovered more than 665 adult illegal aliens in 2021 alone who tried to pose as unaccompanied minors to gain expedited entry into the United States in the past 12 months?
I'm not surprised. Anytime you carve out a special group, people try to take advantage of that and lie and get into it.
Would you be surprised if an OR attorney, the Office of Refugee and Resettlement, stated, we only get sued for keeping them too long. We don't get sued by traffickers?
I'm not surprised, and that is consistent with what I was told and heard during my time as chief in this administration.
Thank you to all the people that are here today. I would just close. We heard all kinds of data from the ranking member here in his presentation. Over the course of 3 decades, I believe it added up to about 233,000 people came in via parole. That was over the course of 3 decades. We've had over 1 million people come in, Mr. Chairman, in just a little over 2 years. That is not humane in any way. Terrorists, human traffickers, and fentanyl poisonings are a product of what has happened under the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas. I yield back.
Chair